What is up, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Year of the Vet. If this is your first time tuning in, thank you so much. You're in for a treat because this episode has a local legend, Joe Sapien, coming to Year of the Vet. And before I get into who Joe Sapien is, what he does, and why he's on the show, I just want to mention how grateful I am for the Year of the Vet listeners to continually be who they are and promote the show and continually push the fact that there is a platform for other vets out there. So continue to tell your friends about Year of the Vet, continue to tell your service members about Year of the Vet, and continue to tell the veterans that are already out there about Year of the Vet, and that there's a platform here that's just giving back to you guys, just stories of other individuals like you who've walked the road of transition and are in a place in their lives where they can talk about the lessons they've learned to get where they are today. Be sure to shoot on over to Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and like and follow Year of the Vet. And if you haven't already, shoot on over to Year of the Vet on iTunes, on Spreaker, that's SPREAKER.com, or wherever you're listening to podcast at. And subscribe, share, and leave a comment on what you think of the show. So enough self-promotion. Let me tell you who Joe Sapien is. So Joe Sapien, at first sight, is just a regular dude walking around the streets, minding his own business. And you wouldn't think that by looking at him. People wake up at 3 a.m. to get to his office 4 hours early to see him. The line that forms up outside of his door to help vets secure the benefits that they rate fills up well before he gets to work in the morning. That's right. Joe is a VSO, a veteran service officer for CALVet. He's also just become a chapter commander at the DAV, so this guy is getting his hands dirty with veteran advocacy on all aspects of what he's doing. Super humble dude, getting his beginnings helping homeless vets up in Modesto, California. And then life got him down here to LA, where he says, Modesto gave me life, but Los Angeles brings life to me. And don't quote me on that. That may be just a paraphrase. However, the fact is that without Joe, there are thousands of vets who would not have had their benefits given to them because vets turn to Joe because he cares. And you can hear that clearly in this conversation. So I'm excited for you to hear this because it was by far one of my favorite conversations that I've had on the show so far to this date. In our conversation, we talk about a lot of things, but what you're going to be interested in listening to this are all the key elements of getting yourself taken care of in the VA system when it pertains to service connection, as it pertains to VA home loans, as it pertains to education benefits such as voc rehab. We talk about homeless shelters, which is something that I believe that everybody should have in their cell phone or in the back of their mind when you come across a vet who has nowhere to go and you need to take them somewhere. So there's just, one of my favorite conversations by far, and I almost guarantee that it's going to be one of your favorite conversations as well. And so with that being said, let's just move right into how our conversation started. We're already starting. It's recording, but don't worry. So my mindset, I was thinking about this before I got here, right? Yeah. My mindset is, I think I'm going to do this. We're going to have our full conversation. Yeah. And then there's going to be a part of the conversation that I want to split up. So you're able, even if you're able to say, hey, I actually did this podcast. Wait, you talk about this stuff on your podcast, right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
then never mind.
Yeah, I talk about like vet benefits and things like that.
Okay.
The guy that I work with, Costa, he's the one that's the genius. Like, because if it wasn't for him, I would not know nothing. Like, and like if you were actually giving each other titles and all that, yeah, he's pretty much the producer, the editor, the lighting, and like he's the dude. Yeah, I'm just like co-host, you know. Like, but somehow,
co-host turned into just Valley superstar.
I think that's like word of mouth, you know, because
it is word of mouth.
I'm really kind of a shy dude, so like you catch me at Target or something, like,
yeah,
you know, but like, but like if you come and talk to me and say, hey, what's going on? Like, I have no problem talking to people, and I think when it comes to veterans, I think you see that I believe in you, and I'm trying, and I think they appreciate it because it's not just some dude like, oh, here's a claim, get the hell out. Yeah, it's, oh, this guy's actually trying for me, you know, and it's not just about. I really don't believe it's about that singular vet. It's about the family. It's about taking care of each other. There's so many ripples involved of getting this one dude something that they already deserve. Yeah, you know, because by the time you come into my office, like, you've already earned it. It's just you don't know it. Yeah. You
Whether you've done 4 or 20.
Yeah. 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 You know, so like, because people don't realize that no matter whether you're Air Force, Coast Guard, you know, Marine, we're taught suck it up, deal with it. Mm-hmm. And so I really believe like 80% of the injuries are never reported regardless. Mm-hmm. And so it gets harder for you when you get out and you say, well, I hurt my knee. And there's like, well, there's no record of it. Mm-hmm. You know, so now you got to sit there and figure it out. But you know this dude's being true because, like, if you're infantry for 4 years, what are the odds your knee's going to get jacked up? Mm-hmm. You know, so now you're just trying to tie dots. Yeah. But thankfully, like, because people find out what I'm trying to do and I'm really trying to help people, you get to bounce off other people. So then the psychologists start to understand that, oh, this guy's trying. The VA police see, oh, this guy's trying. You know, all the different little, like, nonprofits around here see that I'm trying, so they're more willing to talk to you. Yeah. And it's always been just giving me an opportunity to try. And
now, have you been like that for your life? Like, who were you as now, what service did you serve in?
I was in the Army.
Okay, so...
Yeah, I was 14 Tango Patriot missiles.
Oh, Patriots.
Yeah. It was really just turn the light green and run like hell. You know, like...
But you had to, like, study planes and stuff. Oh, that's big. That's... No?
No,
like... the Marine Corps, they do.
Yeah, no, we just had to set up the missiles and run.
Gotcha.
Yeah, like, because, like, the guys in the radar are the ones that are playing with the buttons. Yeah. You know, but it's pretty much, like, automated. So, like, the moment they're on, they're on.
How long did you serve?
Just 2 years. I got stop loss, so I did a little more than 2 years. Yeah.
When did you go? You went in like 2000?
Yeah, I went in 2001 on April Fool's Day is when I signed up at the MEP station. Yeah. And I'll never forget that, dude. It was up in Sacramento. And you know, you're nervous as hell. You don't know what job to pick. Yeah. And then he's giving me all these options and stuff. And I'm like, I don't know about that, dude. And then he's like, Patriot missile, 2 years. And he has the papers. He's like, what could happen? And I just looked at him like, God. You know, like, you just knew something's going on. But you're like, all right, 2 years, whatever.
Yeah, what could happen?
You know, and then, like, basic training pops off. Like, I leave for basic training July 25th, 2001. And then just before we graduate is when September 11th happened. Mm-hmm. And so I thought it was a basic training thing of seeing if you just run away or go home or something, you know, because, like, everybody's like, congratulations, you're infantry now. Yeah. And you're like, oh, you're full of it. And I never left the state of California. Yeah. You know, so, like, talking about the World Trade Center, I'm like, what the hell is that? Yeah. And when you heard it, like, I was getting my Class A's measured. And so it was the first time you saw a woman in weeks, you know? And she was listening to the radio, and I think Pink was on the radio. And all you hear is, like, somebody hit the South Tower or something like that. And instantly I was thinking, like, churches, like a little dude, like, in a little prop plane ran into, like, a Catholic church or something. Mm-hmm. You're like, what the hell? And then, like, a few minutes later, they're like, another plane hit the other tower. And you're like, where are all these drunk pilots coming from? Like, it was not clicking in my head. You know? And then finally, like, they separated everybody. He's like, anybody from the East Coast, get over here and call home and all this stuff. And you're like, oh, shit, there's something going on. Yeah. And then you saw the tanks, like, because I was in Fort Knox at the time. So you saw the tanks and everything, like, close down the base and, like, prepare for whatever. Yeah. And you're like, oh, this is kind of real. Yeah. Yeah.
What could happen?
Yeah, man. Like, oh, wow. Like, and I always tell people, like, I have, like, kind of that Forrest Gump lifestyle where, like, you're that guy that's, like, in those little, like, historical moments. Yeah. But you're just outside of it where it's not affecting you. Yeah.
Like, where you're not the spotlight.
Yeah, like, it's not, like, it could have been worse, but you happen to just get around it. Yeah. But you were there. Yeah. You know, and you're like, what the hell? Yeah. You know? And that's why they're like, when you want to re-enlist, I'm like, like, you know, like.
Yeah, I played with death once, right?
Yeah.
I looked in the mirror.
Yeah, and you see, like, the different side of, like, life that is kind of negative, you know?
Yeah, man.
And I figured, like, if you were lucky enough to come back with your fingers and toes, then you might not want to roll the dice again. Yeah. And so, yeah, I felt like kind of like a rookie that went straight to the World Series. Yeah.
You know, I ask this all the time because I enlisted in 2000. Okay. Right? September 11th, 2000. And
no
so,
shit,
yeah,
really?
it was so I stepped on the footprints, and then a year later, I'm in 21 Palms when all that happened. Yeah. But I always question, And like, it's not one of those, I'll sit there and ponder this for hours kind of thing. But I sit and I wonder, like, would I have enlisted if I knew that the war was going on? And so that's, when all these guys coming out now, they went in 2004, I'm like, you guys are heroes. Because you knew. I didn't know.
No, I didn't know at the time, like at the time it was all peace. And I think at that point, the only thing that happened was the bombing of the U.S. Cole. Mm-hmm. And that's when, like, the Navy guys like, hey, do you want to sign up for 5 years? I'm like, no. And then the Army recruiter came by. and the Army recruiter came by, and he's like, I got a 2-year enlistment. If you fall off my Humvee, you won't drown. And I was like, sold. Like, I figured 2 years you could figure it out, Yeah. But yeah, man, like, I went straight, like, and you're like, I don't know about all that. And then, like, the weird thing, too, is, like, our orders at the time, said, it didn't have Iraqi freedom. It had Operation Enduring Freedom.
It was, the first one was Enduring Freedom first.
Yeah. And then, like, when Bush went on the radio and said, okay, we're going to have this 24-hour countdown and all this, that was the first time I heard Iraqi freedom. Yeah. And so I seriously believed, like, at the time I was, like, 18, and, like, at the time I'm like, oh, my God, we're going to bring 25 million Iraqis to America. I'm like, this is going to be amazing. I was like, we're really doing something. Because I was thinking, like, we're freeing you, like, we're going to go do something. Like, yeah. And
which speaks on, like, when you join the service, you legitimately have no idea what you're doing.
Oh, absolutely not. Yeah. Because when you look back now and you see an 18-year-old, you're like, you idiot, you don't know nothing.
You have no idea.
And that was me in the military. Yeah. And you're like, whew.
We're just sitting there following orders.
Yeah. But you think you're tough as hell.
Yeah. Where are all those Iraqis now?
Yeah. In Iraq. Like, and that was the thing, too, that made me, like, definitely got me a little depressed is when the 10-year anniversary happened, in, like, 2013. Mm-hmm. And so you're looking back and, like, what good did we do here? Mm-hmm. And you still kind of see the negative that's going on for those people, and that kind of sucked. Yeah. Because I'm really hoping, like, kind of like in World War II, guys didn't want to hang around the Japanese, but now me and you would love to go. Yeah. So I'm hoping, like, by the time we're older, your kids are going to Iraq for, like, spring break or something. Yeah. But, like, and I have no negative against those people at all. Like, I think you're just on one side and they're on the other. Just like if you're born in Germany, you serve the German army. Yeah. Like,
yeah. Like, We Were Soldiers. You saw that movie, right?
Yeah, like a while ago.
Yeah, it was long. Yeah. We watched it on the way to Afghanistan.
Really?
So, yeah, it was, my sergeant major made us watch it on the way to war. But there's a scene in it where they're questioning whether to kill this guy because he's having this moral dilemma where this guy has a family, So, yeah, man, it's, but that's where all the PTSD stems from. 100%. That's where all the depression stems from. That's where all,
because so I really care about the people, because like the symbolism and everything like that doesn't mean much to me, but the human being matters so much. And I don't care what your background is or where you come from. I do think the vast majority, like 95% of the world's pretty damn decent. Mm-hmm. You just want to raise your family. Don't pick on my family. Don't pick on my house, and we're all good. Mm-hmm. It's just the few people that cause all the BS. Yeah. And so, like, I didn't want to be that guy that came out, and you're like, oh, I don't like these guys or this, And that's one reason a lot of the photos I had when I was deployed were all, like, kind of nice photos, like camels and stuff. Yeah. So your family had no negative, Yeah. And to see anything. Where a lot of guys want to take the wild photos, but, like, I figured hopefully as the years go by, you kind of forget about it. So when you're looking through your book, all you got is this nice stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Man, I'm excited. It's funny because I hadn't even officially, like, started the podcast, but I mean, this is all getting used. Yeah. But so I think what I want to do is I just want to pick your brain first off.
Oh yeah.
And then how I usually structure it is like who is pre-Army Joe, right? And then like moving into we don't really talk about like everything that happened in the military. If there's like stories that happen, so what? I mean, of I don't know, funny or something that's like this absolutely changed the course of everything. Those are kind of the stories we'll talk about military. Yeah. But then it's all about transition afterwards. Like, when you started transitioning, when you realized about the necessity of the process, and then like where you're at right now. Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. You see that right there? I'm pointing my book. That's 6 years of lessons learned.
Yeah. It took me about 6-7 years to like kind of find a even mellow like ground.
Yeah.
Because I think when I got back, I was kind of wild.
Yeah.
You know.
Yes.
And I think you were still trying to like. I was talking to this to Peter Roman today. I think I was chasing that excitement. You know, like when you're on the edge and you get like that adrenaline rush and you believe. You know, like your eyes get bigger, you see more light. You know, everything like. And things slow down a little bit, like I think you kind of dig that.
Yeah.
And so when you come home and like everything's kind of mellow and everybody's like, oh, just go work at Walmart, like kind of hard.
Yeah.
You know, and so I had issues when like people were like, you need to do this. I'm like, F you, buddy, and then I'd get fired. You know, like it took me a minute, man. Or like you would wake up and you're just like incredibly depressed and like you couldn't even get out of bed, and so then you missed that day and you didn't even have like the ability to call in. You know, you're just like, screw it. And you didn't know anything was going on. You know, like, I really believe, like, in the beginning, like, I was just like, oh, you're just being a twat. You know, like, for real. I was like, you know, like, suck it up, deal with it. And it took me a minute, man, to figure it out. And then once I started talking to Vietnam vets and, like, I started working with homeless vets in Modesto. And that's when they're like, oh, I see where you're at, you know, and they're pointing and kind of smiling at you. And you're like, what the hell are you looking at, dude? And it was a guy that knew exactly where you're standing. Yeah. You know, and then once you started figuring things out, then it started rolling better. Yeah. But yeah, like that first 6 years, like 7 years, oh man, I was worthless. Yeah. Like trying, you know, you're trying, like I didn't do nothing negative. Like
you don't know any better.
Yeah, because I wasn't getting arrested. I wasn't like, you know, stealing things or anything like that, but things were not clicking. Yeah.
And then you know, I wasn't necessarily hanging around vets. In the vets we're hanging around, you know, we're Navy guys from like right after Desert Storm, you know, stuff like that. So yeah, like you're not around that population. So
yeah, because like in Modesto there was nobody. Yeah, you know, so like
still is nobody.
Yeah, like I think there's a service officer now, you know, but yeah, I still never ran into him when I go to Modesto, so I don't know where his location is really. But my uncle's a retired Marine. And so he was in the Marines when I first signed up, but he was always gone, you know? So, like, it wasn't like I could ask you, like, hey, what's going on with this? Like, what is boot camp like? What is this? Yeah. I was going in blind completely. And so when you came out, my uncle was still in the Marines, but I didn't know anybody else. Like, there was no, like, grandpa or nothing to talk to. And I swear it was just like a movie, you know, where, like, you know, your mom says, oh, I think you changed, you know? And you're like, well, of course I changed. What the hell are you talking about? And then, like, when I first got back to my dad's house, like, my dad, my brother, and my dad's girlfriend turned my old bedroom into, like, a giant storage room. And, like, and you're like, well, what the hell, man? Where am I going to sleep, you know? And they're like, well, we didn't know you were coming back. And you're like, what the hell? Like, what the hell is that supposed to mean? You know, like, it was strange, you know?
Thanks for putting all that trust in me.
Yeah, you know, like, I don't know if they think I was going to die, but I figured they probably thought I was going to move on with your life or something, you know, and then all of a sudden, like, you're back in that same room you were in high school, but everybody's talking about how honorable you are and all these medals you earn, you're like,
you're a hero.
Yeah, and you ain't worth a job at Walmart. Yeah. You know, and so, like, that killed you. And I remember when I got out, you know, and you get that little travel money so you come back home, you know, I bought all these, like, dress clothes and everything, thinking I was going to get a nice job. They're still sitting in my closet. Like... like, you know, and yeah,
maybe you should dust them off.
Yeah, right.
At least you know it's. I was in Okinawa for 5 total years, right? And in Okinawa, especially on Foster, there's this old Asian guy that hangs out in the transient barracks, right? So like right when you get to Okinawa, they put you in these barracks in Foster. And then, you know, then they push you out to...
Yeah, whatever unit. Little unit, yeah.
Well, in the back, in the smoke pit, there's this guy he's a tailor. And so he's always peddling suits and shit, right? And the most flamboyant things you've ever seen, like a bright orange suit.
You know? That'd be my dude. Yeah.
But I was coaching a girls' volleyball team in the high school. And me and the other coach were asked to be chaperones. And I was like, oh, I gotta go buy some stuff. I bought these. I'll show you. I'll show you. I bought these like paper white shoes.
Yeah.
And that was in 2008, 2009. And I'd never Never worn them outside until my birthday, like 3 or 4 weeks ago.
Right, yeah.
But yeah, I bought them. I mean, it's not the same, but like they were just sitting there. And I was like, man, I gotta wear these one day.
Well,
one
like,
day.
I always have a problem wearing suits. Like, no one in my family wears suits, you know?
Yeah.
My grandfather was a preacher, and he was buried in chucks, you know?
Yeah.
Like, and so, like, when you go to, like, you think it's you know? But now when I go back to Modesto, you see nobody dresses like this.
Suits up there.
Yeah, like, we don't do that.
Yeah.
Like, we're a farm town thinking we're a city.
Yeah.
But we're far from it.
Yeah.
And so when you move down to LA, and now you got to wear a suit and everything, even if you wear a suit, people know that suit looks wrong because you're wearing the wrong damn thing or it's not fitting right.
Yeah.
You know, so you look like a jackass. And, like, after a while, I was like, you know what, screw that, you know? And I think, like, because when I first started working with the county, I would dress nice and everything, but you're talking to guys who are homeless, who are losing their house, you know, lost their job, and it's hard to connect.
Yeah.
But if you dress down a little bit, then, like, you kind of feel like a human connection, that this guy gets it. And
how'd you figure that out?
Accident. One of my friends, he's a doctor for the VA, and his wife's also a doctor for the VA. And so automatically you assume, like, they're living all right, they're doing good. Mm-hmm. But the truth is, he didn't become a doctor till he was like 45, 47. Mm-hmm. You know, he was a roofer. Mm-hmm. And so it's hard to see that dude's background, you know? And if you don't get the background, then you're like, oh, you don't understand my struggle. But that dude does.
Yeah.
And so, like, if you wear this suit and everything, then it's hard for that guy to say, like, do you really get it? Or are you just giving me, like, empathy?
Yeah.
You know? And, like,
it's a material separation of class.
Right.
But it might not be accurate at all.
It's not at all. Because, like, even when now I'm certainly more blessed than I've ever been in life. And that's the honest God truth. But, like, I'm still connected to my people, you know, so I have no problem when, like, a homeless dude comes in, when some gang member comes in, when some dude just got out of jail after 30 years. It's all cool with me, like, because I'm only caring about how you're treating me. Mm-hmm. So if you're cool with me, I'm cool with you. Like, I don't care what the background is, but, like, sometimes you see these guys in suits and things like, oh, no, this guy looks scary, or this guy smells, or whatever. And to me, it's like, maybe, like, this was the best you've been in months, you know? And this is the best this homeless guy could look. And he's busting his ass to get here. So I'm not going to make him feel guilty for coming in. Mm-hmm. And it's like, don't trip, dude. And, like, I've been homeless too. So, like, not an issue. Yeah. You know? But I think the genuineness is the fact that you understand it and you get it. Yeah. And it's not just some, like, little BS sympathy thing of, like, oh, poor guy or something or anything like that. I think it's really just about that human connection. And I think, like, if we care about each other, especially, like, I really think the biggest thing our generation's going to do is we're more connected than ever, you know, than the older generations. And I think when it comes to who we actually are, we are the greatest union. We are the greatest thing in the world. Like, find me a vet anywhere. Mm-hmm. They're in the White House. They're the janitors. They're your teachers. They're your police officers. You know, they're running the NFL. You pick it, we could find them. Mm-hmm. And so all we have to do is connect with each other and take care of each other. Yeah. You know, and we could actually run the world.
You know, I was at the DAV conference in Reno.
Oh, I missed it, man. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, well, let me show you. Dead air right now. Yeah. I was in Reno accepting that.
That's awesome, man.
I don't know how I got it.
But that's how you learn it.
Yeah, Joe's holding my award from the California DAV. It's the Veteran of the Year award.
That's cool, man.
Yeah, I legitimately don't know how I got it.
That's seriously cool.
Thanks. But the mindset of just waking up and doing that stuff is important. But when I was out there, they were saying, and you would know, the older vets, the Korean War vets, the dying off World War II vets, you know, there's a lot of talk in the news right now about getting their caretakers taken care of, because the post 9/11 vets, we have processes. Yeah. But those guys who fought in Korea, you know, they're not post 9/11 vets. Right. So they're having this issue, and they're saying that somebody had mentioned, you don't realize that it's going to be vets such as yourself in the VSO spots, right, out there taking care of other vets. Right. Nobody else is doing it. Right. Nobody else is taking care of vets. So if the vets don't connect with the vets and take care of ourselves, then nobody's going to care. Because, and another gentleman said this, and I connected too, because America runs in two different ways. They love their vets, they hate their vets.
Right.
Right?
There's a swinging pendulum.
Because right after World War II, you know, everybody's like, oh, vet, you're a hero of America. You can go, you know, open a business and get loans and practically get free houses and stuff like that, you know, as a vet. And then, you know, and then look at Vietnam. You come back and you're a baby killer. You can spit in your face. You can't get served food at some places.
Right.
And the gentleman was saying it's there ebbs and flows, and when is our time, right? So,
right.
But I mean, hopefully it never happens. But
right.
if it does, it's you and me taking care of each other.
That's where it comes from. Because like I really don't care about the separate groups, like my group or the other groups. It's about vets taking care of vets. Mm-hmm. And the only way we could keep the VA in a straight line is if we keep ourselves in a straight line. And so we keep them to guarantee what they promised already. So the laws are already there. It's just making sure they actually follow them. Mm-hmm. You know? And I really believe like if we take care of each other and do things that are proper and right, things move smoothly.
Yeah.
You know, and just like in the military, you don't cut corners. You just do it. You know, whether it takes 8 hours or 3 minutes, no cutting corners.
Quality versus
do it.
Quantity. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And I think that's where we could change. And I think the bigger thing in our generation is a lot of the guys from like the Korean War and the Vietnam War and things like that, they got their benefits, you know, if you happened to be lucky enough to get them. But then they were kind of quiet.
Yeah.
They didn't talk to their neighbor.
Yeah.
Where like our generation's like, man, what the hell?
Yeah, go get taken care of.
Yeah, like go get your stuff.
Yeah.
And
which I'll tell you, man, in the book, I didn't write about benefits.
Right.
Well, let me clarify that. I didn't write about service connection disabilities because I didn't want to portray myself as somebody saying, "Hey, go get paid." Right? I wrote that about 2 years ago.
Yeah.
So I'm still kind of at that point. I'm not like, "Hey, go get paid." Oh, you got sleep apnea? Go get like I'm not at that point, but I definitely tell people you're cheating yourself.
Yeah.
Because you earned everything that you rate.
Right.
So
right. Because by the time you come to me, your story's already done.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And now it's just putting a flashlight on it.
Yep.
But I think the bigger thing for me personally, it's not about us, it's about each other.
Yeah.
And so it's like if the VA gives you something, then you got to say, what about this guy? What about this guy? So now that we're out, it's the easiest way we take care of each other.
Gotcha.
You know? And yeah, there is money involved, but the benefits I think are far greater than the money because you talk to the World War II guys, even if they're at the 100%, it's not changing your life like incredibly. It does help. There's no doubt about it, but you're not going to be a millionaire off this.
Yeah.
You know? But now your kids get college,
yeah.
You know, now maybe they'll pay for your wife to get college. Maybe they get medical.
Yeah.
Things like that where it's like a little bit easier. You know, like if you hit that 70% or higher, then you could go into like the California homes. So now your family's not paying for you to be in an assisted living. Things like that.
Yeah.
You know, so like I really believe in that stuff, but I think we always have to push it because it's not necessarily about the individual in front of you. It's about taking care of the group.
Yeah. The whole society of veterans. Yeah.
And so the only way we're going to shine light on these certain conditions like sleep apnea is if we get our guys to get service connected for it. Because if you get a bunch of guys service connected for it, then you have to say there is an issue here.
Yeah, there's a trend.
Like, just like with Agent Orange. In the beginning, they said, no, that's on you.
Yeah.
You know, but once you see enough people falling over, then you start to say,
Yeah.
You know.
What do you see? Because I was reading in the Marine Times about the anthrax shots, right? So I had to go get, I think I got 3 levels. I didn't finish my series, maybe 4 series.
Yeah.
But I'm starting to read stuff on that.
It creeps me out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because, like, the whole time I was in the military, they used to lose my shot record. And so they're like, start over.
You're the only one.
Yeah, right? Right? And so God knows how many times you get a yellow fever shot. Like, the hell's that going to do to you? You know? But, like, yeah, the anthrax one, I think I got to, like, the 3rd set, maybe the 2nd, but, like, I didn't get much further than that, but I did them, like, 3-4 times.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And so you're like, I think I'm immune to anthrax. I don't know. Like,
that one dropped me to my knees, man. I got the shot, and then like I'd walk away, and then a minute later, it's like you had 14 of your cousins just
like
giving
a burning
you a
sting. Yeah.
Like right, I'm like, oh, why? What is this? Yeah, that sucked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I've always wondered, like, you know, what the hell is this going to do when you get older?
Yeah.
But it is what it is now.
Well, it's like, what is, not Munchausen. What is it when you hear something and then you think you got it?
Like a hypochondriac?
Hypochondriac,
yeah.
Right? So, like, you read some of these studies and you read some of these articles and you're like, yeah, that's me. That's me.
Yeah.
Because talk about memory loss and stuff like that, man. Like, we had come back from Vegas, literally came back from Vegas. Arlene had, I think she took a quick shower and I unloaded the car. And then, she got out of the shower. So I was like, thanks for unloading the car. I'm like, what are you talking about? And I'd literally forgotten.
Oh, yeah.
That we just went to Vegas.
Yeah.
And I was in tears, man. I was in tears. I'm like, I don't know what's going on right now. And
it's creepy.
It happens it happens often.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, and it's weird when you feel that blank in your head and you're like,
yeah.
Yeah, because like that happened to me not too long ago, because when we just moved to Canyon Country, my brother's wife, she has a sister named Terry who has the same birthday as me. So I always call her my twin.
Yeah.
She came to my house and I couldn't word her name for nothing.
Yeah.
And this is somebody I know. And I was like, hey, buddy.
Yeah.
You know, like, and you're just like, what the hell? Like,
yeah.
I could not click her name for nothing. And then this is somebody I'm hanging out with, you know, like, she's part of the family. She's always been great to me.
Yeah.
We go to Raider games and everything.
Well.
And, yeah. Well, that's because of my girl. I'm a Niners fan.
Yeah. Well, I mean, 2 strikes on him. But.
Yeah. But yeah, like that thing, like where you're just like, I absolutely know this person and I cannot word her name for nothing. Yeah. And killed me. It took me days, dude. And I finally had to ask my brother, like, what the hell is her name? And I still feel so damn embarrassed because it's somebody you care about and it's somebody you know. And blanking. Yeah. You know?
Like that memory just been taken away.
Yeah.
And it's crazy, man.
And how you explain it, you're like, I don't know. You know? But
yeah. So, I mean, you're right on point with that trends, because, I mean, that's how things are found, right? Yeah. And that's why I brought up the anthrax shot, because you brought up Agent Orange.
Yeah.
Agent Orange, you know, and that you're absolutely on point with that. So,
well, I do think when it comes to our generation, it's the uranium.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's going to be the thing, like 20, 30 years where you get some weird cancer and they say, that ain't on us.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Because I have seen some of the first Gulf War guys and I've seen some of the newer Gulf War guys pass from cancer already, and their VA's like, nothing to do with us.
Yeah.
And you're like, that dude was like under, you know, oil fields that were burning, like right over his head. You don't think he breathed in something?
Yeah.
You know, and so like when you talk about like benefit of doubt, it doesn't, even though it is a law in the VA book, they don't necessarily lean on it.
Yeah.
You know, because I think they forget that we're not doctors. We don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Like, for the longest time for me, like, I was getting tension headaches, right? And that's on the back of your head, like, almost like on the base of your neck. And so it kind of feels like you slept on your neck wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And so for the longest time, I kept thinking I was sleeping wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'd buy these pillows and all this stuff, and, like, nothing's working. You're like, what the hell? And come to find out it's a tension headache. But I didn't know, because you think headaches are in the front.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah, I didn't know.
Yeah.
So just now.
Yeah. And it took me a minute, you know, to figure it out. And so the VA's like, well, you never claimed it. You're like, how in the hell would I know that?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And like the same thing with like sleep apnea. If you ever deployed and you were in a tent, half or more were snoring.
Yeah.
You were in absolute shape. You were healthy as hell.
Mm-hmm.
These dudes are snoring.
Mm-hmm.
But the VA says, well, you never claimed it.
Yeah.
You're like, who went to sick call saying I can't go jog this morning? I was snoring last night.
Yeah.
Your NCO would punch you in the mouth.
Yeah.
You know, like you would be booted so quick with that BS. Like, and it's a thing, but like to try to get the VA to understand it and agree to it's another issue.
Yeah.
You know, and so that's why I believe that's how we take care of each other is putting light on it.
Yeah.
You know, because you're not grasping at straws here. Like these are true things that happen.
Yeah.
Like another one is like the light sensitivity with your eyes and everything.
Yeah.
Especially like now the summer's coming. A white shirt like this. Whew,
yeah.
Will blind you.
Yeah. You know, it's funny. I had light sensitivity when I got out.
Yeah.
And I mean, they put in my record. They didn't say it to me there at all. A few years later, I had to go get there was a hole in the back of my retina that goes back to head trauma in Afghanistan.
Yeah.
I had to get my head stapled shut. So when I got out, they had said, oh, like, you have history of TBI.
Right.
And that you can go get speech like work
therapy.
done and mental stuff done and da-da-da. And this is how it comes up, actually. When we were just talking about me forgetting that I went to Vegas, and then there were some other episodes, a few more episodes, and I was like, I gotta go see my psychiatrist and tell him this. So I went to Building 200, and he put in the rec.
Yeah.
So I can go see the TBI clinic. And they came back and said, well, there's nothing extra to say that he's got extra TBI because he's already been rated for. And that was 7 years ago that was annotated, and nobody ever said, oh, yeah, you can go see the speech therapist. You can go see XYZ. You can go see this person.
Right.
There's 5 clinics that they said that I can go see to help myself improve on this. And I didn't hear anything about it until he hit me up on this. And then I started looking at my records. And I'm like, oh, there's all this extra stuff with the light sensitivity. And that goes back to the hole in my eye from the trauma and da-da-da.
Right.
It's crazy, though.
But of course, how would you know?
I never know.
You know?
Never know. Yeah, because you know what? There's no communication between you go in, the doctor said that I'm good to go, or maybe I should see. He didn't tell me exactly what
and
was
you're
up.
told you're good to go,
Yeah.
you know, from like everybody. So like, even when you come back from post-deployment, you know, and they say like, don't be writing any BS because you're going to be holding everybody up.
Mm-hmm.
And you're not trying to hold up everybody because they're trying to get to their wives and their kids.
Mm-hmm.
So you're like, no, I'm good. I'm good to go. And I think it's the same thing in the NFL when somebody gets a concussion. You're like, don't trip, coach. Give me water, and I'm good to go.
Yeah.
And that's our mindset. You know, it's like suck it up, deal with it,
Yeah.
and it doesn't matter who you are. That I really believe that's what it is. And for the VA to lean on that is kind of ridiculous in my eyes.
So you see how many people a day?
I try to bring it down because I started law school. And so I used to see like 20 to 25, but now I'm seeing about 15. But then a lot of it too is like I respond to about 40 to 50 emails a day. And so the guys that kind of have a rough idea, they'll email me their forms or whatever I need from them. So then I'm still getting that amount even though I'm not face to face with you.
Yeah.
But on any given year, I've been filing like over 1,000 claims for the last 7 years straight.
Now, how many of those are reluctant to come in and continue the process? Or
I think I have a fairly decent success rate because I always tell people there's always potential,
mm-hmm.
you know, and there's always options. So even if the VA denies you, you have better odds the next time around, because the thing that I do like when it comes to denials with the VA is like they'll say you're denied because you don't have any current diagnosis, or you didn't show up to this medical exam, or it wasn't in your service record. So then you start attacking that issue. Then you file the appeal or the notice of disagreement, and then say they deny you again. They'll say, well, this didn't work. And so they're whittling it down. You know, so by the time you have to go talk to a VA judge, you should have everything straight to have decent odds.
Yeah.
And the good thing about the judge is like he actually follows the law very strictly, where I think the beginning stages, you know, people who are adjudicating these claims, they're just dudes like me and you.
Yeah.
You know, and sometimes they're not vets, sometimes they're not medical. You know, so they're just looking, do you fit in these boxes?
Yeah.
And sometimes you get denied because you didn't fit that box because you don't have a current diagnosis.
Yeah.
You know?
Look at this. You see that? Big ol'. I've got 2 cadavers ligaments in my knee.
Hopefully they're joggers.
Right? I think they must have been like, you know, cement mixers because I can't move around. But I had to get re-rated because if you haven't been rated before or haven't gone in to update, you have to understand that the VA has they have the option to reevaluate go through that whole process, reevaluate the whole process. And so that it seems like every time I've gone there, I've had to get reevaluated every single time.
Yeah.
And I've got this like 9-inch scar on my leg from the surgery, and they're like, I got re-rated for 0% for my knee. I was like, do I have to really go through this whole process again?
Right.
Which is a turnoff, and why vets don't come back to keep doing this.
And I think that's the style.
Yeah.
Because you got to remember that the VA's been doing this forever.
Yeah.
You know, and we're going to live and die, and the VA's still going to be around.
Yeah.
And so I think they know how to like play with those basic emotions that vets have, because like one of the bigger things you always see is give it to somebody who deserves it. you know, and so we're always afraid of like not filing a claim because you think somebody else deserves it more than you. Mm-hmm. And I've talked to guys with Bronze Stars who say the same damn thing. Mm-hmm. And I know a POW that says the same damn thing because he has a decent job and his kids went to college. He's like, I don't need anything. I'm like, man, you're the reason I'm here. But I really believe that like it's the mindset of give it to somebody who deserves it. And I think that's where we kind of screw ourselves because we think we're taking away. Yeah. And that's not the truth. The truth is the more people that get service connected, the better odds we all have. You know, because if it wasn't for the Vietnam vets going through their BS and fighting, I really believe our generation would be absolutely screwed. Yeah. You know,
we would be the ones having a fight.
Yeah.
And we're not, I don't believe that we're strong as the Vietnam vets.
Not in the connection that you used to see, you know, because I do believe we are connected greater, but I think the difference is like back in the day, people used to go march out in public. Mm-hmm. Now we have people on the internet. Yeah. So they're still linked up massive, but you just don't visually see it. And I think that's where people think our generation's more lazy when it's not the truth. We actually pushing stuff because if it wasn't for like people like Snowden that are like pushing all these records, whether you like it or not, he caused a little revolution with a handful of people. Yeah. And so the same thing with us, like we are connected, we are doing something, but to assume that we're not on the street so we're not connected, it's a little off. But like I do think our group is more connected than any other generation. It's just a different style.
Well, I mean, look at all the VSOs around, right? And the organizations popping up, you know, Got Your Six, We Are the Mighty, you know, and you know, that are there for information. Then you have like IAVA, and you know, like there's so many groups that are now tapping into the veteran population, old and new, right? Right. Whereas before it was Legion.
Yeah, VFW, DAV.
Yeah. And so you got the Big Six or Big Five, and now, you know, you can legitimately throw a rock and hit a vet if you're looking.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing, too, is like you see all these groups, but everybody's really aiming in the same direction. Yeah. They have different styles and different methods. Yeah. But it's really trying to figure out how do we take care of each other. Exactly. And I think once we link up as one giant group, you know, almost like the NRA or something, then we become powerful. Yeah. You know, and I really hope that one point that we kind of like somewhat unionize or someone do something like the NRA where like you got this giant group of people. So if you try to touch our benefits, you try to screw with these vets, you're going to have a hell of an army against you.
Well, you are getting your lawyers certified or going to the bar.
I mean, like can do this. June 2019, was when I'll graduate, and then I think just after that you get to go take the bar.
What type of law?
I'm not too sure really, but I've been thinking Social Security disability. Yeah. And then I've been thinking contracts too, because you see guys get screwed over on contracts. Yeah. And it's really just about taking care of your neighbors, you know? And like, because my thing is like, say like you have a really beautiful house, but your neighbors are starving. Guess who they're aiming at? Yeah. But if you like share, you know, and everybody's like doing okay and doing their part. Yeah. Then the whole community's taken care of. Yeah. And we're all good. Yeah. You know, and so I really believe, like, especially when it comes to veterans, it's easy for us to take care of others. We're designed that way. Yeah. And so you take yourself out of the equation and help these dudes out, and eventually everything starts to work. Because, like, when it comes to LA County, we have so many veterans here. We can move things. Yeah. We could actually do things. Yeah.
Well, that's what I was saying. Kind of going back to that separation of class just because of job title, right? Right. Like, you're about to be in a position where you could be that. I know you're not the outgoing, hey, let's go get him kind of guy, but
I am when it comes to the others, you know? But, like, if, say, you're picking on me, then it's like, whatever. Yeah. You know, I could deal with it. Yeah. But, like, when you see somebody picking on somebody, like, when you see, like, a Vietnam vet who's never filed, you're like, man, what the hell? Yeah. And so, like, of course I want to fight for you. Yeah. You know, and you see somebody who's like a decent dude, but like, you know, he's going through a divorce or he's homeless. It's like, let's help this guy out and see what the hell happens. Yeah. Because I really believe if you give somebody potential, especially if you're talking about a vet, 9 times out of 10, they're going to far exceed your expectations. Yeah. You know, so you give this guy potential and you give him some belief and they'll run with it. Because the thing with me is like, yeah, a lot of guys like what I do, but I'm a paper pusher. Yeah. You know, I just say, hey, what about this? What about this? And say, well, you know, you got potential here and potential here. And then guys go out and get it. But I think for any veteran, all you got to do is give them a target. say this is what you need to do to get here, and they'll execute.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And so that's what I'm always trying to do is I believe in the potential of people.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes you fail, sometimes you win, but like I really believe when it comes to potential and you give somebody a target, we could hit it.
Yeah.
You know? And so I hope that like, yeah, when it comes to the law and everything, like I'm not really worried about titles, you know, like I doubt I'll ever put Esquire on a business card, but like, you know, like some BS like that. Because, like, I'm really just Joe. Yeah. You know, like, most people don't even know my last name or who I work for. Yeah. You know, it's like, oh, talk to Joe. Yeah. Yeah. And that's who I am. I'm just that
And it's the perfect name. Because,
you know,
can't, like, what if you're like, I'm just Seymour?
Yeah, like, yeah.
No, man, I'm just your average Joe. I'm
just for real.
Average Seymour. No, that's okay.
And I believe that, too, because, like, I don't think anything I do is necessarily special or unique. It's just given the opportunity and trying the best you can, and when people see that, they give you more opportunity.
So how did you get to where you're at today?
A lot of luck and being a smartass. So when I got out, I was 19. You know, it was a month before I turned 20, and so I was too young for most jobs. You know, so like police officers and like say like border patrol, a lot of them like the FBI, you have to be like 21 and have a degree, and I was the first one to graduate high school since my grandma. Mm-hmm. You know, so like degree is like, what the hell is that? Mm-hmm. And like, and you couldn't get a job or nothing. And so like, I started working at the Central Valley Homeless Veterans in Modesto off of Paradise Road. And I worked with Marvis Hood, who owned it. And I worked with Nathan Johnson, who's now a service officer up in like Solano County or something up north. Mm-hmm. But he's like one of the decent dudes up there now. And I didn't think nothing of it. I was just going to junior college, you know. And it was a work study program. And so you're just getting like paid minimum wage to go, you know, hang out with vets. And you're like, well, that's easy. Mm-hmm. And you're helping them with like housing and things like that. And they were the ones that showed me what a stand down was, you know. And some of the vets were talking about benefits, but even then you're just like, what the hell are you talking? Why would somebody pay me for the rest of my life? You know, mm-hmm. like who am I? Mm-hmm. You know, so you're like, that's got to be some kind of BS or something, you know. And when I first came down here, like, so 2008 comes off and like we're losing the house, and like at the time me, my brother, and my dad were living in the house, and 3 grown-ass dudes could not figure it out. Like there was just no jobs, there was nothing. It was just smile and watch it go, you know. And my brother moved down here because he was in a rock band and they were starting to do pretty well. And so he moved down here and just kind of left me and my dad at the house. And that at first that kind of bothered me, you know. But now, like, I'm very thankful he took that leap of faith, you know. Because when it came down to it, it brought me down here, mm-hmm. you know, like a few years later. So I think he moved here 2007. And then I came following 2009. Mm-hmm. And couldn't find a job, nothing. And come down here and you don't know nobody for nothing. Mm-hmm. And
it's a faster paced life.
Oh, massive. Everybody you talk to has another job. Mm-hmm. It's like you have your primary job and then you have this job of hopefully something clicks mm-hmm. in my dream or something. Mm-hmm. You know, but everybody's moving, you know? And I thought that was always interesting. And the cool thing about Los Angeles is like, I don't care what you love or what you're into, you'll find a group of people that are about it. Mm-hmm. You know, and the thing that LA's always been beautiful to me is like, they've always given me the opportunity to jump in it. Mm-hmm. You know, like Modesto, they're like, nah. Like, like even I applied to a job at Gallo Wines in Modesto, and I lost to like a 45-year-old meth addict, and still to this day it bugs the hell out of me. You know, you're like, how'd you pick that dude over me, man? Like,
you should go back.
Well, like,
look at me now.
Like, I'm always
Esquire.
Yeah. I'm always hoping you're that guy like on some liquor commercial, you know, like this wine's better than Gallo's, you know, like. And like I would say that with such a straight face too. Like, oh, that got me so offended. Like, you know, like, because it was just between you and this guy, and you're just like, yeah, like what the hell? I still don't know what happened there. Like, but I moved down here, and and this Armenian family had this airsoft company, and so I knew about guns, you know. So they're like, cool, we'll hire you, you know. And I think at first they thought I was Armenian because my last name's I-E-N, but they thought it was I-A-N.
Okay.
So then you show up and they're like, what the hell?
Yeah.
You know, like, you don't look Armenian. I'm like, mm-mm. You know, like, but they were cool with me, and they're the ones that sure as hell gave me a job, like, right away, like, within 3 days moving here, you know? And so that helped pay for rent so I could stay here.
Yeah.
And on the weekends, I would just fill up the car with gas or something and just drive aimlessly for hours and just go down blocks, go down everything. And then eventually started looking at jobs, and I would go home every day and apply to like 40 different jobs and never get a response back for the vast majority of them, you know?
Yeah.
I was applying to everything, even things that were just beyond your thing, you know, but I figured why not, you know, let them say no. And then eventually I get onto the county website and I apply for a job. And sure enough, I get a call back a few months later, and they're like, hey, come down for this interview. And at the time, I didn't even have gas money to get there. Didn't really have, like, decent clothes, really. You know, and you're just like...
You did have a suit. That was...
yeah, but...
in a closet somewhere.
Yeah, like, it wasn't a full suit. Like, it wasn't the blazer. Like, it was the... like, it was the dress pants and the dress shoes and, like, the shirt, but, like...
Suspenders and a bow tie.
No, like, still this day, I don't know how to do a tie. Like...
I'll teach you afterwards. Man.
Yeah, like, because, like, when I was in the Army, there was this Mormon kid that knew how to do ties, so I'm like, dude, help me out, you know? And so I never had to, like, learn.
Yeah.
And so, like, when I go to the interview, you know, you're dressed all right, but you're not, like, proper, you know? And, like, I've never been a proper dude.
Yeah.
You know, so, like, I always get nervous when you're around guys in suits and stuff like that because they're, like, decent looking.
Yeah.
You know, and, like, you know, you're just kind of a dork, you know? And so I go to the interview, and Bob Saxon was, like, one of the most amazing men I ever met in my life. And he interviewed me, and he was like, okay, so what have you been doing? I told him, I worked at the Central Valley Homeless Vets in Modesto. And he's like, with Marvis. I'm like, yeah. And he's like, all right. And so he called up Marvis and said, like, who is this dude? Is he all right? And Marvis said, yeah. And so I got lucky because I actually took my job serious, you know, because it was just a student worker job paying minimum wage, you know, it was part-time. So, like, you could totally screw off on that job and no one would care.
Of course.
And you're thinking, who in the hell knows Modesto if you're from L.A.? But sure enough, Bob Saxon goes, like, calls Marvis, and, like, Marvis gives me a good word. And George Dixon, who's my supervisor now, is a retired first sergeant. And he liked me because, like, I knew what stand-downs were. I'm more about the people than anything. And they gave me a shot. And I got the job, and, like, it changed my life. It really did. Like, I don't know where I'd been without him.
How did it change your life?
I had a real job for the first time. Like,
since the service?
Yeah. You know, well, the service was certainly the first real job I ever had in my life. And, you know, because before then it was like working at Macy's and Wiener Schnitzel and stuff like that. Nothing special.
So, like, a career.
Yeah. And then out of nowhere, like, I get paid to hang out with vets.
Yeah.
You know, and I get to hang out with, like, real heroes, like, real people every day. Every day. And you're like, how in the hell do I get paid for this? And even though, like, you know, you'll always bitch about you want a higher position, you want more money, whatever. But insanely blessed where the fact, like, it took me 2 years, man, to figure out that I could buy an autographed baseball from Dodgers and not worry about gas. Yeah. You know, because, like, when you're a kid, you know, you look in a magazine, you're like, I hope I get an autographed baseball or something like that. But it was something you were dreaming of. It was something you never touched.
Out of reach.
Yeah. And then it took me about 2 years where you're like, I could do that, you know? And it's weird. Yeah. You know, like, I could go to Dodgers and not stress on the electricity bill. Yeah. You know, and you're like, that's very strange for me, even still today. Yeah. And it was because of Bob Saxon and George Dixon and Peter Roman and Chris Duarte, like, that they really gave me something that incredible, man, incredible. Because, like, when I first started working for the county, I was 25, and a lot of people thought you're too young to do this job, you know, and things like that. But the vets at Sepulveda would give me an opportunity to try. Yeah. You know, and then as you kept trying and you kept doing more, they saw that I was making effort, and it started building and building and building. And now it's, like, to the point where, like, yeah, like you say, like, a lot of guys like what I do around here.
Oh, and you're a living legend at CSUN, man.
See, that's another spot that is just, they're beautiful to me, man. Yeah. Like, oh man, like, one of my guys, he works at CSUN. and he got me tickets to one of the comedy shows, because when I first came here, I wanted to do comedy so bad. I wanted to be a comedy writer. I'm too shy to be like in front of people, I think. But he got me these tickets to the CSUN where like it was Jim Jeffries. It was
I remember that show.
Yeah, like so many like like major guys were there. Chris Titus was there and all these guys, and it was just this guy being nice to you. And they gave me tickets, and like I got to go, and it was just this beautiful thing. And it's just because you care about people.
Yeah.
And it's crazy, man.
Yeah.
Like for real, like I get to talk to guys who literally talked to George Patton. I've talked to guys who talked to Eleanor Roosevelt. Yeah.
At the conference, I was talking to Bishop Herman.
Really?
88-year-old, Army tank from Korea War, and he asked me to sit down and write his story. I was like, yeah, of course I'll write your story,
Yeah, and you see these guys like, man, like, they're incredible people.
Yeah.
And they're your neighbors.
Yeah.
They're not these Hollywood stars or something like that. They're normal people.
Just everyday.
And, man, how crazy is it to be able to hang out with them and be a part of that, and be a part of their family. And, like, I don't have family down here.
Yeah.
So, like, I really believe, like Modesto gave me life, but Los Angeles gave me a life.
Yeah.
And it's been nothing but beautiful for me. Like, it really has. And, like, when you look back that I started here in 2009 to where I'm at now, like, it has to be a Forrest Gump life. Like, like, I got to be veteran of the game one time at Dodger Stadium, and it was Clayton Kershaw versus Tim Lincecum with the Giants, and you get to walk on the field, and like, of course, like I was dressed wrong, like, because like,
well, what is dressed wrong for? I mean, were you in a suit?
No,
you were actually in a suit for that game.
No,
that's the one time you wore the suit.
No, like, so like, they're just like, come show up, you know. And when I got out of the military, like, I have a bunch of boys in my family, like cousins.
Yeah. And
so, like, when I got out there, they were all into paintball, so they swooped on my uniforms quick, you know? And so I go down to the game, and I wear this dress shirt, and I'm wearing blue jeans, and, like, and my girl picked the dress shirt, which I still think is ugly today. Like, but, like, she's like, you look all right, And I'm like, okay, cool. And I go in there, and you go talk to the lady, and she's like, where's your uniform? I'm like, I'm out. I'm a vet. Like, you don't wear the uniform when you're not in. She's like, oh, most people do. And I'm like, oh, shit. I'm
glad you said something, because I would have never known.
Yeah, like, like, because I swear to God, when you get out of the military, they say you're not allowed to wear it. It's against the law or something. I never looked into it.
Yeah, not your camis. She's
like,
probably talking about your alphas.
Right. Yeah. But, like, I just took it serious, so, like, I never put it on. Like, I gave my dad my, like, nice uniform and everything, but the cousins got everything else for the paintball. And so, like, you walk, she's like, where's your uniform? You're like, don't got it, and she's like, all right then, whatever. And so you walk out there and you kind of get, like, that Field of Dreams moment where you're like, holy shit, like, you're on Dodger Field, and it's not just the Dodgers themselves, but, like, the history there, And I think she was hoping that I would say Clayton Kershaw or something, because she was like, who's your favorite, like, baseball player? And I pointed and I said Vin Scully. And she's like, pick somebody else. And I was like, oh, who?
Yeah.
Like,
you asked me my favorite.
Yeah, because, like, I know he's not a player, but, like, when you think of Dodgers.
Of course.
And anything in your head, if you think pop-up, you think first base hit, whatever, it's his damn voice in your head.
Yeah.
And so, like, yeah, that's the dude. Like, even, like, a year ago, 2 years ago, I was in my park, like, in my driveway, listening to the Dodger game on the radio in my car. Because, man, that dude's amazing.
Yeah.
But she was like, pick somebody else. And so I was like, well, I think D. Gordon's really good. And the dude wasn't playing that day, I don't think. And so she's like, okay, whatever, Like, I think they were going to give me a signed baseball or something, but I picked the wrong guy.
Yeah.
Because I think at the time, like, it was, like, either Kershaw or, like, a Camp.
She was just somebody who's completely bad at her job.
Yeah. And, like...
Why don't you help me out, lady?
Yeah, and so I was like, yeah, like, throw me a line here. But, like, I got the, like, shake, what's his name's hand? Andre Ethier. And, like, he said thank you and stuff like that, and a couple of the fans, like, say thank you and stuff, like, but a dude like me coming from Modesto to have that experience, like, crazy.
Yeah.
Like, not in a million years. And it's, LA gave that to me.
Yeah. So I'm guessing, like, you were the first graduate after grandma.
Yeah.
So before the service, you guys were like a modest, working, kind of low key family.
Yeah, like so, like even like looking back, you could see things, you know. But growing up, you didn't realize you were that poor. You didn't realize like it was this bad or anything. It was just life, and everybody around you was living the same damn way. Yeah. So like when my parents got divorced, my mom was in a low income apartments. When I was in 3rd grade, and so everybody in the apartments is living the same.
Yeah.
So
like you don't know any different.
Yeah. And so like of course you'd clown the kid who's like poorer than you.
Yeah.
And like screw with him, but like it was all you're all in the same damn boat.
Yeah.
So you never really thought of it, and even the guys that were older than you, they would join the military and they'd get kicked out like a month later. They didn't even like pass boot camp or anything. And so when I signed up, they're like, "Yeah, we'll see you in a month." Like you ain't gonna do it.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Nah, I just want to see if I could do it." Like because everybody I knew that even if you did all right, you would go to the junior college and your ass was there for 6 or 8 years. And I was like, I'm not trying to play that game either. And and I joined the military and got my honorable discharge and just took off. Yeah. And it was just keep at it, because even when like the first 6 years and I was absolutely lost and like had no idea what the hell was going on. And even I was asking my dad, like, why isn't shit clicking? He's like, I don't have an answer for you, and that was the honest answer, but like you had to keep at it. You had to keep trying. And now looking back, I'm absolutely thankful I lost my house.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because when guys come to me now, you get it.
Yeah.
It's not just like, oh, poor dude. Like, I get that.
Absolutely.
I
say all the time, because, man, I've had some downs.
Right.
I've had some downs.
Right.
And, I needed those downs.
Yeah.
So,
they make you who you are.
The people that I've helped needed me to have those downs.
100%. And so like, you can't, I always tell people you can't look back and say, I wish this never happened or I wish this never happened. Because maybe that thing changes who you are now.
1,000%.
Yeah. And so, like, thank God it happened.
Yeah.
And
there's a movie called Sliding Doors. It's an old movie. I think Gwyneth Paltrow's in it. But the concept is she misses the train and then it kind of goes into another universe where she doesn't miss the train, and it explores the two lives that would have happened.
Right. Yeah. Just from that one
just
spot.
Just from being late to the train.
Yeah.
And it's completely different left to right.
100%. Because, like, what happened to me was I was working at the Central Valley Homeless Vets one day, and a lady from the Palo Alto VA came by and handed me a disability form and said, oh, you should file. But it was just a blank form, and you don't know what the hell you're filing for. And Palo Alto at the time, like, well, still, it's kind of far away. And so, like, if you needed to take a bus right there, you would take the bus, stay the night, and then come back the next day. And so I'm, like, not doing that. And my brother takes me, and I go down this hallway. And it's almost like the hallway, like, at Sepulveda, you see the different groups. Mm-hmm. But right when I turn down the hallway, there's a guy in a wheelchair with a leg missing, and behind him is a guy with an eye missing. And my problem was, like, a depression issue. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, man, quit being a bitch and just, deal with it. And I turned around and walked out. And it took me like another 6 years to actually file. And I'm so thankful for it because, one, if I would have filed for it, I would have gotten it. Mm-hmm. And that would have helped me save the house, which would have kept me in Modesto. Yeah. And this would have never happened.
Yeah.
Two, I understood what it meant when, like, now with my job, like, if I tell you, no, come back tomorrow or something like that, I'm always worried that you're not going to come back for 6 years, And so, like, I'm always trying to get those people. And so that's one reason my bosses always get on my ass about, like, you need to take lunch, you need to take breaks. But if you talk to anybody, you'll never see that.
Yeah.
Because I think you're more important than my sandwich.
Yeah.
Yeah. I could eat when I get home.
Yeah.
But right now it's you and your family. And so that's where I get it. You're supposed to take lunch and it's like, like laws and all that. But, like.
Yeah. The good ones get it.
Yeah. Like.
Get it.
Like. It's,
but that's why your reputation precedes you, and I'm getting to know that right now.
Yeah.
Throughout this conversation, I do want to talk about homeless vets, right?
Yeah.
Because I have an issue with where we're at with how we can help homeless vets,
right?
And the issue is that we can't, but we can. And what I mean by that is, I can't pick up a guy right now off the side of the street and take him somewhere.
Right.
can you help me through that? Because I've picked up guys and I said, hey, I'm going to go, when we were having these crazy storms, not this last time, but the year before.
Yeah.
There was a guy in the back of AM/PM, all his shit laid out. And I took all his wet, urine smelled stuff, put it in my truck, loaded him up, and we went to the church, you know, and they're like, we can't take him. I'm like, you're a church, you're the house of God, you know?
Yeah.
They won't take him. Okay, well, let's go to this place. I went to 3 different places, went to the VA. The VA's like, well, you know, he's got to go through this whole in process and da da da. What can I do, me, or the next person listening, when we come across a homeless vet in Los Angeles, or let's keep it to Los Angeles since we're here, right? But when we come across a vet in Los Angeles, what can we do at that moment in time?
What I think when it comes to the groups that really, really help, one I believe is the Volunteers of America, the VOA.
Okay.
I love those guys a lot, and I've seen them try. And that's
in Hollywood, right?
They're all around.
Okay.
Yeah, and there's a few locations around here. But the thing that I like about them is that I've honestly seen them try. I've honestly seen them try to make efforts, and if they don't have the answer, they usually try to point you to another group.
Okay.
You know, another good group would be like PATH, which is I don't want to say people against the homeless, but it's like people for the homeless. You know, they're there for you, and they're not bad either. And then you got U.S. Vets.
Okay.
And then you got New Directions. But I believe the one I like is the Volunteers of America.
Okay.
And they definitely help out. And yeah, there are shelters and things like that. But the problem with shelters is you get these guys that are used to the status quo, you know, so they're not really trying to better themselves. And so if you're that person that's trying to get out, then usually those guys are the ones that are keeping you down because they're going to steal your stuff and mess around with and like just piss you off.
Yeah.
You know, so then you get in trouble for fighting or something.
Yeah.
But the VOA, like I think, like they have a beautiful spot on Hollywood Boulevard or Sunset.
Yeah.
And it's a bunch of dudes that are around our age.
Okay.
You know?
Yeah.
And it's a great spot. Like if you like now, like because I've been homeless before, but if I was homeless now, man, you got resources here.
Yeah.
And I'm talking like there's food places, there's places like at Sepulveda in West LA, there's clothing that you can get, and the clothing's not bad at all. Like I've seen guys like drop off like legit suits.
Yeah.
You know, and like decent clothing and everything. So like now free haircuts, all that stuff. But I think with the VOA, it's just incredible because they got people coming in there, so you don't have to like drive to come find me, you know. And they got their own little groups and stuff, and like they have a weight room in there and everything, and it's just vets helping each other. So like I know a lot of guys that stayed at that shelter or that home in Sunset with the VOA that now are doing incredible. They're doing better than me.
Yeah.
And like financially,
I just actually had a conversation with Denver Morris, which runs Merging Vets and Players. And he was telling me, that's why I asked if it was in Hollywood, because he mentioned it today, because he stayed there.
Yeah.
And now he's up and up.
Right.
You know, and he's doing he's hanging out with NFL players and stuff like
and
that.
So like I always like where you're at now has nothing to do with nothing when it comes to your future, because you have no idea. Because if you would have talked to me 5 years from now, you know, like in the past and said, where would you be now? Like I would have no idea.
Yeah.
No idea.
Yeah.
You know, but it's all about taking care of each other. I really believe that. And there's all these groups, like even USC has their own little veterans collaborative.
Yep.
And Jim Center is like one of the best dudes you'll ever meet in your damn life. And that guy's incredible. And so like I always like, yeah, like you always see like when people say like I'm a decent worker and things. I don't think it's me really. I really believe it's the people that given me the opportunity. Mm-hmm. You know, so it's like Jim, like Sepulveda, like all the guys at Sepulveda, the VOA, they're giving me opportunity, you know. Even LA Film, John Powers over there, he has me help his students, you know, and it's because he knows I care.
Yeah.
Because you're not going to have your students go to somebody who's wasting their time.
Yeah.
And so they know that I care and they know that I'm trying. And that's the hard part that I'm having now at Sepulveda is I'm branching out more. Because, one, I naturally get bored of being in the same spot forever. And so you gotta, I think the way you learn is by learning other people's issues. Because if I just stayed at Sepulveda, then you're only dealing with that population, but you're not understanding the whole.
Yeah.
You know, so that's why I go to San Pedro. That's why, like, we're trying to move out to Castaic. Any which way, you know? So, like, when I talk to groups, I'm like, let me know, man. I'll go hang out.
Yeah.
You know? And it's not a problem. Like, you get to go hang out and BS with some, like, really cool dudes and file
see
some claims.
how everything functions there and kind of pick it apart.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I, you know, because. So, unfortunately, this is the end of part 1. Sorry, I did not give you the heads up that this was a part 1. I guess you can tell from the title of the podcast that this is part 1 of 2. But as I was editing, I got so lost in the conversation myself that I realized at the end we're looking at a 2-hour conversation. With that being said, I ask that you share this, you go back to the episode, write a comment, and then really look forward to the next week, because next week we'll be wrapping it up with Joe and moving on to the next guy. So until next week,